Hi, I'm Joe Connolly. Timing is important in life, in politics, in hitting a baseball, and in business, as Jessica Lawrence Quinn, CEO of the New York Tech Alliance, tells you. You know, one of the things that made me like you before I met you is that I read your bio and I saw that you used to run the Girl Scouts of America in Southern California. I said, now this has to be a nice person. She ran the Girl Scouts.
Yeah, it was a great experience. I was the CEO of Girl Scouts of San Gorgonio Council, which is one of the Girl Scout councils in Southern California, and had so much fun working with young girls. I used to joke when I shifted into tech and started working with tech entrepreneurs, I used to joke that I had already spent a big chunk of my career working with entrepreneurs. They just happened to be 8 years old and sell Girl Scout cookies.
I thought you were going to say I've already spent my career working with children.
Yeah.
So who are these New York tech entrepreneurs now? Can you paint us a demo picture? Who are we talking about?
Well, I think that some people have the maybe misperceived idea that a tech entrepreneur is a young guy in his early 20s, working on something in a small apartment or a college dorm room. But what's I think really special about New York is that we have entrepreneurs from every age, every walk of life, from all of the different boroughs in the city. We're really seeing tech entrepreneurship flourish everywhere in New York.
There's an impression, I guess, that I have, tell me if it's right or wrong, that to be a tech entrepreneur, you have to have raised some money from somebody, $50,000, $100,000 maybe. Is that so or not?
It really depends on the type of business that you're trying to build. So there are actually some tech companies that really you can build from the beginning as long as you have a revenue model and you're generating some income. You don't necessarily need to take outside funding. And actually, there's a great company in New York, Shutterstock, that very famously is now a public company, but didn't take any venture capital when they were first starting out and really grew into a full-size company without any outside funding.
How have these companies that have started self-financing on their own revenues done that? With a lot of small revenues or a couple of big sales? How do you do that?
Yeah, so with a company like Shutterstock, they really started with having a model where they could generate revenue right away. So the founder took his own photographs. It's a stock photo company, and so he just put his photos up on a website and let people pay a small fee to use the photos that he took. And so that started generating some revenue right away, and that helped him get started. Some other people luck out. They've got some money from a previous job or from family members, and they can use that to get things going in the very beginning.
It seemed as though a lot of the companies that had 3 to 5 minutes to present their business idea had some kind of an app for this, that, or the other. Now, is that still the type of business that most of them are in, or has it changed, Jessica?
Well, we see a combination of things. So there are still a lot of people building apps. The app business is big and booming. There are a lot of people still building websites and doing really web-based and then making a mobile-friendly website as opposed to a standalone app for their company. And we also see more people getting into hardware, looking at building everything from friendship bracelets that girls can code and program themselves to 3D printing, and virtual reality is huge now. So lots of different things happening in the tech space.
Do most of these people who are starting the tech startups, do they, I'm just guessing, work with 3 or 4 people maybe, or alone, or more?
There are people that do, found a company by themselves. They're a solo founder. A lot of people like to have a co-founder, someone that they can really work with. And often they can get pretty far just working with 2 or 3 people and then hiring contractors and consultants when they need different things done. And then when it really starts taking off, they'll expand their team.
How much more can the New York tech entrepreneurial clientele grow?
I think it's really exponential. I mean, that's one of the things that's very interesting about New York is that we have, a highly concentrated population, a very diverse population, people in the city who always have challenges to solve, and so there's just a lot of room for tech entrepreneurship to keep growing in New York.
Is it true that most businesses start by solving a problem?
Yes.
That's true, right?
Yes, most businesses really, it started from a founder who looks around and sees a problem either that they're experiencing or someone else is experiencing, and they feel like no one has successfully solved it, and they feel like their product can provide a solution to this problem.
And it seems as though others often don't see it as a problem. They're the ones who recognize it as a scalable answer to a problem.
Right, exactly. So they're when someone's founding a company, they're really looking at it, and sometimes they're able to see into the future a little bit farther than other people. And really, a lot of times what makes a company successful isn't even necessarily the idea, it's the timing. It's the time when it's just right to come into the market, something that customers kind of know that they need or are right on the verge of knowing that they need, but they're not quite there yet. And an entrepreneur kind of gets just a little bit ahead of it and gets the timing perfect.
Tell me more about getting the timing right.
So it's a hard thing to do. You know, there are a lot of people that have had really good products that just launched at the wrong time, and then they try to bring it back a few years later, and it actually works. And there are other people that, you know, they just keep trying, and they just keep working on ideas and working on products, and then something will click. It'll be just the right time for that to happen.
What's the sign that you're too early, though?
I think the sign that you're too early is sometimes that just nobody wants it. Nobody is responding to it. People kind of go, why do I need this? Sometimes that can mean it's the wrong idea, but a lot of times it can mean that it's the wrong timing.
Right, it could be that it's not a good idea, or maybe you're just too early.
Yeah.
And then take
Or
something
sometimes
parallel.
too late, that the market's already saturated with something like your product, and there are too many other competing products out there already.
Tell me more about that. How do you know when you're too late and should try an offshoot?
Well, I think it's really important to look at and really understand how many competitors you have. If you're looking for venture capital funding, the investors are going to really look at how much room is there left in the market for a new competitor, and do you have something about your product that's going to help you stand out from the companies that are already out there. And so it's not that you should avoid going into something just because there's somebody already in the market. I mean, there was a time, for instance, when Netscape was a much more popular browser than, say, Google Chrome is. And, you know, if Google had said, oh, we shouldn't build a browser because Netscape already exists, you know, that they are now obviously a very successful company. So there are times when it makes sense to come into a market where there are already competitors.
How much are New York tech companies merging with each other or selling out to each other or partnering with each other? How much of this consolidation is going on?
Well, I think what's interesting and happening in the New York tech ecosystem is it's not so much that two tech companies are coming together, but often that some of the other big companies in New York in other industries, finance companies, publishing companies, companies like MasterCard or AIG or New York Times are actually acquiring or investing in a lot of early stage tech startups.
Isn't that great? You love it when that happens.
It's a wonderful...
Or do you? Or do you?
Well, I think it really depends on the goal of the company. So the goal of the startup. You know, there are a lot of startups that their product can really thrive when it gets under the umbrella of a much bigger company with bigger resources and a bigger team. There are other founders, I think, who find that they'd really rather keep running independently, and they're not interested in joining a bigger company.
And that's a little bit of a change, as I recall, from when you spoke at one of the CBS Small Business Breakfasts, which was 2 or 3 years ago. Because I remember that day, someone asked you, what happens to these companies? And you answered something like, well, you know, they merge with somebody, or some of them go away and the employees get hired someplace else. This, to me, that you just described sounds like a much more aggressive pursuing of these tech companies now.
Well, it's definitely become more popular for large companies to really be looking at tech startups as a potential acquisition, because they're seeing so much innovation happening in the startup community that these large companies really want to take advantage of that and have that be a part of their DNA as they continue to grow.
A couple of other quick questions. What insights can you give us, or what tips have you observed when people have somebody who approaches them for a partnership or a purchase, to know what they can sell what their business is worth, what the price should be?
Well, I think it really depends. I mean, it depends on the business model in terms of what are the values that you have in your business in terms of, is it that you've built a huge customer base, or do you have proprietary technology? And so there's a whole kind of science around how you would price your company for sale.
It all comes back to real estate. It's comps. It's the house down the street.
Yeah. Yeah.
And often you say, my house is better than that.
Right, and sometimes it's about the neighborhood, or it's about the size of the apartment kind of thing. So it's analogous in the technology sales world.
I remember now the question that I drew a blank on that was driving me crazy. What % of New York tech firm owners have a day job or doing something else or starting this on the side?
Oh, that's a really interesting question. I don't know. I don't know that there's a stat out there about that. But I would say that a lot of people, when they do get started, start their tech company as a side project. They've got a day job, maybe they're working in finance or they're working somewhere else, and they've just got an inkling that they want to try to solve a problem and build something in the tech realm. And so they'll start working on it on the side until it kind of gets enough momentum that they feel comfortable leaving their day job.
That's not uncommon.
Yeah.
I'm starting to notice at business conferences more, quote, small business owners, who are really almost mid-sized business owners, who've come out of big banks and big companies. Is that a new emerging group? I mean, some people who've had some pretty big jobs now starting their own. Is that new?
I think that's, so an evolution of the tech community over the last few years. Definitely, we've seen many more in our audience at New York Tech Meetup, seen many more people who are career switchers, who are moving from a career in finance or in advertising or something else into the tech community. And that's really an amazing thing because they bring so much knowledge and history in those functional areas to help build successful tech companies.
So you're starting to get more mid-career adults.
Definitely.
I shouldn't say adults, but middle-aged people.
Yeah, the age range has definitely expanded a bit. I mean, there's still, concentration. The startup world is not for the faint of heart. About 75% of venture-backed startups fail within the first couple of years. So, sometimes that still is skewing towards people who are a little bit younger, but we're definitely seeing a broader age range of people now.
Are tickets still impossible to get?
Tickets are not totally impossible to get. I think if you're on the ball and paying attention to when the next event is, you can definitely get a ticket to the New York Tech Meetup.
And they stagger the tickets, right? So more people have a chance at getting one?
We do. We tend to stagger the releases so that you have a better chance of getting a ticket.
Wow. Is there anything else that you would like to say or a point that you'd like to make about the tech startup industry in the city, Jessica?
I think we're committed as an organization to really supporting the growth of the tech industry in the city, but in particular, we're also very focused on diversifying the tech industry in the city, and we'd love to see more people of all different ages, of all different backgrounds, from all different neighborhoods in the city really getting involved in tech.